Hey, this is Alex Piak, and welcome to the Dominant Agent Podcast, the place where real estate agents and brokers come to learn directly from the top agents, coaches, trainers, and industry influencers on how to build profitable, scalable, and enjoyable businesses by becoming the dominant agent in their market so they can live life on their terms. Welcome to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Piak. And as you know, we're committed to helping agents build a profitable, scalable, and enjoyable business so that you can live life on your terms by bringing you access to the absolute best agents, coaches, trainers, and influencers in the real estate industry. In today's episode is going to be really unique and different from pretty much every episode moving forward. Today's episode is going to be me letting you guys know why I put together the Dominant Agent Podcast and a little bit of information about who I am as your host and what the real goals of this podcast are and who it's intended for. So obviously, I didn't start off my real estate career envisioning having a podcast or being a real estate coach, trainer, influencer. It's kind of evolved to that. But I want to kind of share a little bit of my background and how I got here. And more importantly, what I'm trying to do for real estate agents in the industry. So, right now I'm currently coaching and training and partnering with real estate agents across the country. And the goal is to help agents build scalable, profitable, and enjoyable real estate businesses that allow agents to live life on their terms. I'm a huge believer in real estate, the real estate industry as a vehicle. I believe it's one of the only opportunities out there today that has limitless income potential. You are in business, you're an entrepreneur, and the upside is limitless. There are agents who are making well into the seven figures selling houses. And I know when you build that type of business, what it can afford you to do, the type of lifestyle, and more importantly, who you can share those things with. And I think it's a game changer. I've always felt that way. But like most agents, there was, I didn't start where I am today. There were some struggles, and tell you a little bit about my backstory and how we got here today. But really quickly, basically I got into real estate in 2003. My family has always been in real estate as far as the investment side. My grandfather had multiple investment properties. My dad was renovating and flipping properties and had investment properties. And through that process, he actually got his real estate license because he was doing a decent enough volume where he wanted access to be able to find the homes using the MLS, and then obviously getting paid to buy them and then saving the commission when he sold them. So that was always his driver in real estate. He never was, getting into the real estate business to build a real estate brokerage in the traditional sense. And honestly, I've been swinging a hammer and working with my dad on these flips since I was, an early teenager, probably 13, 14 years old. Just doing a bunch of grunt work to spend time with dad. And, through that process, developed a skill of, being able to build homes, renovate homes. And those are things that I would do later on in life. But that's how I got into real estate. And, I remember it like it was yesterday. One day we were going to a property that my dad was renovating. At this time, I was probably 19 years old. And I was going to college full time and, really had no clue whatsoever what I wanted to do in life. Maybe you guys can relate with that. Maybe you're in a career right now that isn't aligned with what you truly want. Maybe you're going through the process, if you're younger, like I was, going to college, but that really didn't know what you were going to do with that. It wasn't your dream. So I was kind of going through the motions of school. And to be honest with you, I was awful because I didn't want to be there. I remember getting, your GPA after year one and year two, and it was somewhere in the 1.7, 1.9 range. It was awful. It just wasn't right for me. And I remember going, we were grabbing breakfast on our way to a flip house. And my dad was transitioning his real estate company. He had about 2 or 3 agents working for him at the time, but it was in the basement of our house. So we would have home inspectors and lenders popping by to try to generate, introduce themselves. And they'd be coming to our actual house. So my dad said, all right, I've got 2 kids. They're kind of in that age where I don't want strangers just knocking on the door. So he moved out into his first commercial location. And the truth is he had no staff and, just a couple of agents. So I was working full time and going to school full time. And I said, hey, what about if I got my real estate license? I may be able to help with your new office. Because at that time, even today, you really can't answer phones. You can't talk to the public about real estate if you don't have a real estate license. So I said, I'll get a license. And, I don't know if he thought I was serious or not, but he said, well, if you want to, I'll introduce you to the guy who does all the local courses here. And that was it. That was the beginning. I signed up, and in a matter of, back then 2003, you can get licensed in the state of Connecticut if in 30 hours. So 30 hours, you could do 12 hours a week. So really in about 3 to 4 weeks, you are done with your courses and you're sitting for your tests. So October of 2003, I was licensed, and that was it. Now I've got a real estate license. I'm still going to school, taking 5-6 courses a semester, and I'm still working the traditional, 40-hour work week and flipping homes and helping my dad in construction in my limited free time, but still doing it. And I did my first real estate transaction within about 30, 45 days. I had a friend who I had worked with at my other job who had a condo to sell. And I remember getting paid on that first deal. And my dad took a commission split. It's not like I was getting 100%. I think on the listing side, it was maybe 60-40 or something like that, 70-30. I don't remember. But even when I got my check, I had remembered making a few $1,000s and saying, man, right now I'm making like $10 an hour at my full-time job. I just made in this last 30 days what I'm going to make for the next 4 months at this job. And that's really where I got hooked into real estate sales, but differently, not the investment side, the actual working with clients, home buyers, home sellers. And because at the time I'm 20 years old, not a lot of people were lining up to have me list and sell their home. So I kind of made my inroads with buyers, and really specifically first-time home buyers, because I was closer to their age. I could relate. But I knew a lot about real estate because my dad was in real estate. He had bought a bunch of homes and been through the process. So I had a decent background about real estate. But again, I didn't get into real estate because I wanted to be a real estate agent. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And I figured, hey, you can make decent money. You can kind of set your own hours. Those things appealed to me. But I think at a deeper level, more importantly, I was looking to do something just to kind of make your parents proud, right? I wanted people in my family to be proud about what I was doing, whatever it was, right? That, we don't come from a super high achiever family. So I was the first one to go to school, go to college, get a degree. That was really critical and important to my parents. That was their vision, their dream. So I was able to fulfill that. But, I wanted people to be proud of me. I wanted people to look up and say, wow, I can't believe, he's doing great things with his life. I was the type of person where, at night when I lay down, my mind runs a million miles an hour and I don't get very good sleep. I could envision my life selling a lot of real estate, making good money, buying investment properties, making residual income. Like I could map out getting to 7 figures a year in my head, and I dreamed of it. It was my vision, what I could do with it, the quality of the life, giving back to my family. Like that's what my driver was. But ultimately, I wanted people to be proud of me. I wanted to do amazing things with my life. I was really driven. I came from an area where, my parents were hard workers, and they busted their ass. And I always looked at them and said, I wish they had more for themselves based on how hard they really work. And I think that was the thing that changed my entire mindset is if I'm going to work as hard and be as dedicated as they are, I really want to exponentially grow my life in the quality of my life. I want nice things because I'm busting my ass. You deserve it. And that was my driver. I saw how hard they worked. They've instilled that work ethic in me, and I wasn't going to be out hustled or outworked in real estate. And that was really where my journey began. I wanted to prove to them. I wanted to prove to other, people who kind of looked at me and said, you're probably not going to do much. Like, you're not the smartest dude. Your grades aren't great. You're not going to some big college. And, if you've ever gone through that kind of stuff in school, this probably relates. Or maybe if people told you couldn't do something or didn't think you would achieve at a really high level, you probably resonate with some of that. So that was my driver. And for years, I put my head down and I outworked any and everybody I could. You could drive by South Main Street in Naugatuck, Connecticut. We had our corner office, and you could drive by at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and my car was parked outside and the lights were on, and I was studying my ass off. I bought everything you possibly could buy as a real estate agent, every book, every DVD training course, every video training, you name it, I bought it because I didn't have a mentor or somebody who had succeeded in real estate. Remember, I joined my dad's brokerage, which was just him and 2 other people. I didn't join a big brokerage with 100 agents where I could get a mentor and kind of see what they were doing and model it. I had nothing to model. So I'm starting from scratch, trying to figure this shit out on my own. And what I did was I put every penny I had into buying courses and learning from people who had success. And I implemented and I tested and, I just outworked everybody. And it worked to a certain degree. I got up into the mid 20 transactions, which Naugatuck, Connecticut at its peak sold 225 homes a year. And there was 143 licensed realtors in Naugatuck. That was the type of market. And the average sales price was awful, probably in the 160 range at that time. We're talking 2003. And then the market exploded 2004, 5, but I was still a full-time college student. So I never truly got to ride that wave. You started seeing all these agents, top producer, $1 million producer. And the truth is, they were not good real estate agents. They were in a good market. And when the market crashed in 2008, they all went and got jobs. I luckily was able to survive and thrive and find a new niche because I had fundamentals that I had learned. Now, I wasn't living the lifestyle that I want. I wasn't getting the results and sales that I want, but I was basically out surviving everybody. I was doing just enough to make this work. And, but I wasn't getting truly what I want. And, riding through that market crash was devastating. There was months where I was putting a few $1,000s a month into the business to keep the doors open for the other agents who were now part of our brokerage. In 2005, I partnered with my dad in the business and bought a RE/MAX franchise. I was one of the youngest franchise owners in RE/MAX's history at 22 years old. And then, market crashed and, I'm paying money to keep the doors open. Things got really bad. And, a couple years later, when our franchise was over, we went independent and the market still just was struggling. I remember sitting for an interview at Home Depot, trying to get a position that started at 5 o'clock in the morning and would end by 11 or noon so that I could then still do real estate full time. That's how bad it was. I was ready to try to keep 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just try to make enough money to survive. And, they offered me the job. And that's the defining moment of my life where I said, if I take this job, there's no way I'm going to make real estate work. I just know the statistics. When you're out and you're making money, it's going to be hard to make this side hustle work. And I said no. And I left and I went home. And I bought a program to a coaching event. And I believe this one was either Dallas or Denver. And that's where things changed is I invested into a coach and I had no money, couldn't afford it, literally could not afford it. I said, I'll figure it out. I'll put it on a credit card. And that's where I started to learn the fundamentals of what the most successful people in the industry are doing. And that started my journey from that day in 2007 all the way to where we are today. Is I've invested in real estate coaching, training. I've invested in coaching and training from marketing specialists, people outside of just the real estate business, to learn the fundamentals of, how to run it like a real business, what works, what doesn't, what's the fluff and what's the real nuts and bolts. And I was so obsessed that I would document every single thing that I learned, and I would test it. And the shit that didn't work, I would never do again. The stuff that worked a little bit, I would go tweak it a little bit and get it to work a little bit better. And the things that really worked, I continued to do. And eventually I started to develop systems and processes, and I was able to, earn the income and the living and grow my business. I was able to survive through the 2008, 9, 10, 11 markets in Connecticut that just were devastated, where homes were dropping by 30 to 60% of home value. 56 to 58% of all the listings on the market at that time were some form of distressed short sale or bank foreclosure. It was just an incredible, challenging time, but I made it through because I started to invest in new marketing, lead generation, conversion systems and processes. And I outworked everybody. I literally would spend 20 hours a week working on my skill set, and then 40 to 60 hours working in real estate, trying to put it all together. And that eventually led to a journey of where my real estate coach and mentor introduced me to some people here who had one of the largest coaching companies in the country. And the opportunity became to where I could move my family to Dallas and really share with other agents through coaching and training what I had built, the fundamentals of business. I mean, I had been coaching now for years, so I knew systems, processes, implementation, marketing. I knew it at a high level that I could train other people. So that led to me moving my family in 2014 to Dallas to work with this coaching and training company. And that went really well. And then in 2016, that company decided they were going to open a brand new real estate business. They were coaching and training, but they were going to get into real estate here in Dallas. But they had nobody to run the new business. The owners were doing a bunch of other things. So they needed somebody who could train agents, who knew the system, who knew the processes, to where we could go bring agents in and make them super successful. Matter of fact, our offer was, if you joined our brokerage, we would get you to 4 transactions closed every single month. So 48 deals a year, all sellers. That was our value. And it was my job to make it happen. So in 2006, I worked side by side with my partner there on this new business model. And in our first 12 months, we took this brand new business from startup, zero, and closed 268 transactions for just shy of $2.3 million in GCI. In that process, I was coaching, training, working on the skill sets, the listing presentations, the buyer presentations, helping these agents then grow teams so that they could get leverage and take their business from 48 transactions and grow it all the way on up. I was doing that. And then we opened up an inside call center, and I had 11 full-time ISAs making 18,000 outbound dials every single week. So I was working on scripts, objection handling over the phone with my inside sales department. Then I was working on business practices, listing presentations, how to win customers and turn them into sales with my real estate agents, and did that all the way up until 2018. When I had the opportunity to branch out on my own, I wrote the book, How to Dominate Your Market and Become the Go-To Listing Agent, that outlined everything that I had learned in my real estate career, from how to differentiate yourself as a real estate agent, how to beat competition, how to build marketing assets and lead generation campaigns that attracted quality leads, what you would say to them over the phone to get them to agree to meet with you face to face. What would your face to face value proposition and presentation be so that they would hire you exclusively as their real estate agent? And then I would show people, how do you do that and also be able to charge a premium commission and fee in your market higher than anybody else. And we were doing that when there was competition like flat fee brokers, disruptors that were buying homes directly from the consumer. In the midst of everything that you see happening in the real estate industry today, we were teaching agents how to be successful no matter what, because we would teach them how to build a brand, how to differentiate themselves, and how to have the skill set to position themselves so that they were the only logical choice in the consumer's mind. And that's what I've spent the last, really since 2014 all the way up until today. That's what I've spent every minute of my day doing, was helping real estate agents fast track success. Because the truth is, there's a lot of high level shit out there. A lot of people that will take your money. There's a lot of things you can buy for $50, $100, $1,000 that isn't going to get you the desired result that you want. And I was the person who bought all that and suffered, who almost lost everything to the point where, I had checks bouncing, trying to maintain everything, was down to, pennies left. And I was able to rebuild it because I focused on the fundamentals. But I was the guy who bought all the shiny objects, silver bullets, magic pills, all the shit that people were selling because I wanted success. I wanted it to work. But what I realized is people was selling me the what to do, but nobody was actually giving me the how to actually do it in my market to get the result. So it was kind of like trial and error, just spending money. And I knew there was a better way. And I knew if I ever had the opportunity to help real estate agents, I would want to do the exact opposite. I would want to give them the systems, the processes, the step-by-step how-tos, the blueprints from taking idea into implementation to get the desired result. And that's what I've been dedicating my entire life on, because I want to make an impact. I want to help real estate agents because I believe in real estate. I believe in homes for families, the stability in that. And I also believe that if you run this like a business, that the amount of income that you can generate, the lifestyle that you can live, really allows you to build something special for not just you, but if you have a family. That was always my desires. I wanted to provide for my family. I didn't want to make decisions based on income. I didn't want to make decisions based on when my next commission was coming in, feeling the frustration, overwhelms, and anxiety of not knowing when it was coming or where the hell it was coming from. That sucked. I lived that life for many, many years. But having been blessed enough to coach and train and then get around the most successful agents in North America and mastermind with them, you start to pick out the things that fundamentally work for everybody, no matter where their markets are. And those become your baseline principles, the things that everybody needs to put in their business as the foundation. Don't buy the silver bullet until your foundation is solid. You are built on a solid concrete foundation. And then you can build from there. You can test, you can try new things, you can buy different lead sources. But people go to buying those things first without the foundation. And that's unfortunately why, the statistic says 85 to 87% of real estate agents never make it in the first 5 years of real estate. They cannot generate a consistent enough income. People start worrying about, can I provide for my family? Can I pay my bills? When's my next real estate? And if you've ever felt what that feels like, that unknown, the potential of letting your family down, or the potential of possibly failing, and how that's going to make you feel in front of your friends, your family, that's usually the thing deep inside of your gut. People, they're more concerned about how people are going to view them if they don't make this work. I wanted to take that away. I wanted to help agents know exactly what to do in the right order and allow them to truly build a business where you can live life on your terms. And that doesn't mean building a massive team. It doesn't mean doing 1,000 transactions. For you, it might be doing 25 transactions, making a good income, and never missing your kid's baseball game, your kid's soccer games, dance recitals, whatever it is. That's life on your terms. It may be you want to be the entrepreneur and business owner, and you want to be the team leader that's got 20 to 30 agents, and you are really running this thing like a well-oiled machine. You're the CEO. If that's what your life by living life on your terms means to you, then there's a right and a wrong way to get there. There's a best practices in how to do that in order to do it correctly. And that's what I really wanted to share with agents. So having the success and working with those agents for the last couple of years, the opportunity to start the podcast really was something, because people are thirsty for good knowledge, things that actually work. So the goal is with the Dominant Agent podcast is to bring real estate agents insights and access to agents that maybe they would never, ever have the access to picking their brains. Top teams, top team leaders, top agents across the country, top real estate coaches, influencers, in bringing you access to them in asking questions like, what would you do if you had to go to a new market? What were your best lead sources? What's working right now? Hey, what did you put in that ad that worked? Like actually bringing people the nuts and bolts, the how-tos, so that after listening to a podcast, you can come and implement an actual strategy into your business and get results. So this is not some high-level podcast to sell you stuff. This is getting you access to the brightest minds and letting you know what their journey, because maybe you feel like you're alone, but what you're going to realize is almost every top agent had the same exact struggles you are having. And it was based on key decisions and investments that their business and their life changed. And my goal is to bring you the insights to what those decisions were, what those tipping points were in their business that made the biggest change and what's working right now. So appreciate you guys for becoming listeners to the Dominant Agent podcast. It means a lot. Please reach out at dominantagentpodcast.com. Like, follow, subscribe, share this with other real estate agents who could use some insights, some tips, some strategies. That's our goal here. And it's always to bring you guys the absolute best things that will make an impact, help you build a more scalable, profitable, and enjoyable real estate business. Moving forward, guys, you probably won't hear a podcast like this. Most of these are going to be interview style podcasts with agents, but I felt like it was important you guys get to know who your host is and what my journey has been to get me here, to be in a position to get you access to these type of industry experts to help you guys. If there's ever anything we can do, please reach out. Dominant Agent Podcast is the best way, or you can email me or reach out on Facebook, whatever. We're here to help and be a valuable asset and resource and training tool to help you guys build a profitable, scalable, and enjoyable real estate business. Appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to leave a comment and review on whatever platform you're listening on so that we can continue to bring you the very best guests